Now, let's talk Liverpool because they go marching on after their victory against Newcastle United. They're trying to get themselves right back in there. I think they've got a brilliant chance. On the horizon, of course, Africa Cup of Nations. And I wonder how that will affect Liverpool in terms of those big names, Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, Naby Keita, possibly missing for 3 or 4 games in all competitions. But I think right now you've got to say they are right in the hunt for the Premier League title. And in particular, their midfield is coming together. A player who come into the Premier League with a huge reputation, who many people thought we hadn't seen the best of. Thiago Alcântara finally making a statement, having an impact at Liverpool, James. The question is now, does he form part of the best Liverpool midfield?
I think this is a really good debate because look, we always go to those top 3 sides. Our producer said McTominay and Fred. We're going to just leave that to the side for now. Maybe give them a couple of weeks to see if they can get the form up. But when you think of those 3, you know, the energy with which they play, and often actually the midfield 3 is an area for Liverpool that we don't really focus on that often. We concentrate on the front 3. You know, Mane, Jota, Firmino if he's playing, and Mohamed Salah. But in Fabinho and Thiago, what I really, really love is that actually Henderson, who I think we always we know how great he is now, but we always kind of struggle with just how great he is sometimes, and in particular from an attacking point of view. But his energy and then the use of Fabinho and his positioning and the ability that gives Thiago to drop deep and get on the ball and start to pull the strings. We spoke about it in a video that we were chatting about Chelsea just a second ago. The rhythm of this team right now is pretty special, and it's retained that energy. And I think what's also great about this Liverpool team, more broadly speaking, is some of those other players that are coming in. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain coming in, playing a different role for the side, offering up that energy. It's great to see him, fit and firing again. Naby Keita has had moments where he's played well. He's scored some crackers as well. The contribution from the entire team has been really, really impressive. But those 3, if you put them up against, so let's say Man City, it's got to be Rodri, Bernardo Silva, and Gundogan at this moment in time, if we're having a 3. Chelsea kind of only play with a 2, so maybe are we chucking in Mount, Kante, and Jorginho if they're fit? Is this 3 the best of those 3?
I mean, there's a very good argument for it. I think in that player I mentioned in particular, it's all about roles when it comes to the midfield 3. And it's all about the rest of the team knowing which of your midfielders plays which role. I think at Liverpool, there's almost been a responsibility taken on by Jordan Henderson that he will almost be the conductor of that midfield, that he will set the tempo. Thiago's arrived at the club and he is that kind of player. He's the one that wants to dictate the tempo of the midfield, and he doesn't usually like it to be a very high-paced midfield. That's the opposite, really, of what Jurgen Klopp wants. What he wants to do is to almost play walking football. They can't get the ball off us. We play at this level. Let's see if they can come and outplay us. It's not like that at Liverpool necessarily. What they want to do is hit you with that pressing, but also, of course, hit you with those transitional attacks and move through the midfield, almost bypass it at times as quickly as possible. So it's very, very different to what he's had before. What we're seeing now is his intensity is rising. He is becoming more of a Liverpool type player, but also the other players are understanding that he does have a role to play. You don't have to defer to Jordan Henderson, who of course is your captain and been there for such a long time. Fabinho as well, quality on the ball, likes to get play started. Actually, when he has been in the team, they've almost said, if Thiago's there, no, you go and do it. You drop in between the defenders, you go and pick the ball up from Alisson, and then you get us started. Jordan Henderson had previously done that as well. They have now leaned more towards Thiago for that, which means he's having more of an impact. So I think, listen, they've got good options in terms of their central midfield area. For me, that is the best field, the best 3 right now in terms of the quality of player, Henderson, Fabinho, and Thiago. But does it have that chemistry? Is there a bit of an X factor in that midfield? Maybe a midfielder who can do those lung-busting runs to support the attack. I don't really feel that they've got that within those 3. They would have to play someone for me like Oxlade-Chamberlain. You've got the youngster Curtis Jones. If you need to bring him in as well, you can drop Diogo Jota a little bit deeper. We've seen them do that because Roberto Firmino's come back from injury. We've seen him play almost as a number 10 at times. Again, very good options at Liverpool, but I just think they do now need to settle Thiago into that team because he could have a huge effect particularly in the Champions League towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think for me, I would say in terms of output, I think it's still the Man City midfield three. You know, Bernardo Silva's, he's been so complete for Man City this season. Gundogan, we know what he offers in terms of goals, and Rodri's really impressed me actually over the last season after I felt having quite an awkward first season. What I would say about this Liverpool three is this is the three I probably enjoy more watching, because when it comes to Thiago, previously Liverpool looked to suffocate, and they still do look to do that. But what I like about Thiago is that little, like you say, there's that calmness there, and then that injection of pace with his passing, with nothing more than that. And I just think it's an absolute joy to watch. In terms of the season as a whole, then the thing that everyone kind of looks forward to and thinks, could this be the thing that derails the title challenge for Liverpool, is the African Cup of Nations. It could affect, or it would affect it, Brentford, Crystal Palace and Leicester City games. Do you feel like the squad is strong enough to deal with those three and get 9 points, even if the likes of Salah and Mane are away?
Well, there's still a possibility the Chelsea-Liverpool match right at the start of January is affected by the Africa Cup of Nations as well. We know there's been a request put in that those big players at both of those clubs don't necessarily have to join up with their international teams during that week. Those weeks aren't necessarily training weeks, but they do get the squad together, or they do want to get the squad together. And I know there have been conversations with the football authorities and the Premier League clubs over whether the players could go after that match, yet to be confirmed. But that would be huge. You know, if those players aren't involved from Liverpool in that Chelsea game, I think that massively changes what we think the outcome of that game will be. So fingers crossed. But in terms of the month as a whole, I definitely believe Liverpool can cope. Of course, Mo Salah has been the best player in the league, maybe the best player in the world so far this season. They need him, generally speaking, most weekends. But I think given the actual fixtures that they have, they can cope, you know, especially if Roberto Firmino's fit. I know there was a doubt. We saw what Divock Origi could do. He had a couple of games in the team, managed to score a couple of goals as well. Could he have an impact? Even Takumi Minamino, who I've mentioned with you previously, I think he can chip in. And you've also got Oxlade-Chamberlain, who we mentioned, who could be pushed a little bit higher up the pitch if need be. So there are options in that Liverpool squad, and I think they will cope with it. Going back to your point on the best midfield in the league, I tend to agree with you on Manchester City. I think the Liverpool fans, in particular Mason Mount, you know, if we added him as a three to Kante and Jorginho, that is pretty strong, to be perfectly honest. I'm just disappointed about that, Fred, to be perfectly truthful with you, because I think that maybe holds me back a little bit. But no, generally speaking, the title race as a whole, I know AFCON could have an effect here. How are you viewing it right now? We're about to go into a period with a lot of games. Who's going to cope best?
I think, well, Liverpool in particular, yes, they're going to lose those players, but I think I know how Klopp frames this. I think he goes, this is a mini tournament for us. These are 3 games that we need to get beyond, and it's your time to turn up Origi. It's your time to turn up Minamino. It's your time to turn up Jota as well. I think it's going to become the Salah figure, because Firmino, you would imagine, will play in that central position for them. So I've been so impressed with Liverpool. I can't see anything derailing it. It's going to go right to the wire. I think it's going to go right to the final day. And when it does, I think Liverpool will be there.
Hi, I'm Hugh Croft from ESPN's Football Forecast. Make sure you're subscribed. You can follow all of our predictions throughout the season and get some other great analysis from our big names as well.